welcome to the show, welcome to The Identity, welcome to Hope Channel Kenya, Lighting the Family. If you've just joined us, we'd like to take this moment to encourage you to tally along with us. Today we are blessed to have three lovely people. From my far left is Jemima Odipo. Karibu sana.
Santi.
How are you doing?
Great.
Great?
Yes.
Awesome. Next to her is not that much a new face, Sharon Tama. Karibu sana.
Thanks
You've
for
been
having
doing
me.
good, I hope.
I have been awesome.
Great. And next to her is our resident guest, Herman Tambo, HT. Uko sawa? Kabisa. Thank you very much. You can follow us on our social media handles. And thank you for the feedback. Actually, today's show has been prepared thanks to Josephine Odhiambo. I hope I got it right. Josephine Odhiambo on the question that you sent us. Thank you for sharing with us. Now, when you get to us, our social media handle pages on Facebook is Hope Channel Kenya, and on Twitter is at Hope_Kenya. Share with us on what you think about the show. The questions are welcome, and we are going to try our best to correct what we probably didn't understand properly, or we can also dive into a new discussion, just as today we are going to dive into the new discussion. Thank you for interacting with us on our social media platforms, and I would like to send a special shout out to a lady called Josephine Odhiambo, who has made it necessary for us to discuss about today's topic. And a very nice article that I came across during this week. It was an article that on Polycarp Nyakora, who was awarded 15 million after being unlawfully sacked from the KDF forces, and CS Omumu was charged, rather, the CS was told to pay up for the damages. That captured my attention, and also the question that was shared to us by Josephine Odhiambo, and that is what has necessitated us to have this discussion. We're going to talk about law number 4, that is the Sabbath. And Karibuni sana. I don't know if any of you guys had a chance to go through that article. You had? What do you think about it first?
I thought it was interesting because I've actually read the case before, and I didn't know that it was finalized recently, so justice was served.
Justice was served to him. Yes. What do you think about it?
It's a beautiful story. It shows that as much as you cry, at the end, God actually sees these tears, and if you're really doing things for Him, it works out eventually.
Jemima?
Well, I believe that God has His ways of working. It may have taken long, because since 2012, 2017, but in the end, I think He got what He deserved.
Wow.
Yes.
Now, that brings me to the question of, what is this about the Sabbath that causes many people, I don't know about many, but I know about, first of all, Polycarp Nyakora, that he stood firm on his faith that I'm going to church on Sabbath. That made him lose the job, but still he was okay. As much as he went to fill the suit, what is it about the Sabbath, Jimmy? Probably start with, what is it about the Sabbath that can make people, even from just as a supreme, people from the dark ages were tests were? What is it about the Sabbath?
Well, I would say the Sabbath is ordained by God. Anything that is holy, set aside, should be kept as it is, yeah? Do not enter or just mess with it like it's something. That's why most people have actually been able to do what is right on the Sabbath, and God has given them the strength and the faith to actually go through it without having to actually, let's say, like, yes, because God is always there for you. Do what He asks for, and it will always turn out great.
But then kuna challenge moja si tuko nayo. First, hail to Polycarp, he stood firm, hata kana lose job. When he was in KDF. I don't know how much they paid, but somebody said it's luxurious. Somebody say, I don't know. But then, he stood on his ground. But then sasa si vijana ni wale ambao, leo sijisikii. Sijui ni aje. Sharon, what is the difference between him and us? So that for him he can decide to go that extra mile of wacha nilose here, lakini si tuko zile za leo niko sleepy kidogo.
Something I've come to discover recently is that all these things about religion and doing that which God asks us to do all comes down to if we truly know God. As young people, we tend to do church because, it's where else would you run to,
Born bred in
exactly,
church,
that kind of thing. So for us, we are more inclined to the things that make us happy. And so if things that make us happy, things that promise a good future in quotes for us. So if I have a good job, man, why why would I keep the Sabbath? You know, that's our shallow mentality kind of thinking, and that's what makes young people not stand firm. It's we don't really know this God that
we don't know God.
Yes.
But then it's like Polycarp did. That's why he sacrificed his job.
Yes. The way she said, and I'd like to agree with her, Polycarp had strong convictions and still has, I believe. And understanding why he kept the Sabbath, he knew that nothing should be able to come between him and God.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's the epitome of loving God, when you are willing to put aside anything if it's going to come between you and him.
Let us, before we dive into the Sabbath, there's something that you've brought out, and I would like for us to have a clear understanding. You said if we knew God, we would do it for him. But then why should we do it for only one day? As in, so we can do it every day. Sindio? But then why Saturday? Okay, why the Sabbath first? Why Sabbath?
The Sabbath is very special. You know, it's more or less like, I'd like to use the example of like dating, yeah? If you're going out with someone and you're in a relationship, you can say all these nice lovey-dovey things to them every day, you know, text them, call them, and say all those sweet nothings.
My friends used to call them sweet nothing.
Yes.
That don't even make sense.
I beg to differ.
But yeah, all the same. And you can do this, but it's still, there's a difference when you actually come to meet face to face, create some time to actually be the two of you and, you know, get to talk better. Mm-hmm. There's something, it grows deeper. Now Sabbath is that day that God has set apart for us to actually come closer to him, you know, from all the hustle and bustle of the entire week, and to just come and listen to what he has to say, get more encouragement, equipped for the week. And that's why Sabbath is special. Yeah.
Somebody will say, for the only reason that Sabbath was ordained by God himself should not be a reason why we're discussing about this. Mm-hmm. But then, youth equally to kona challenges. Mm-hmm. One of our viewers sent a message and said, you know, my week is always busy. And alafu nafikanga saa 2, and then I don't know, something happens, alafu tu najipata tu nimeenda. So can we say that we have not really known God? Ama ni challenge, we allow challenges to get us in that situation? Jimmy?
I believe we have not really known God, because God is not a hobby, you know. He's not something like a recreation that you go when you feel like, or you just wake up and, church is routine. If you get to know someone, it becomes part of your responsibility and duty as a human being to actually want to go to church, to actually want to receive and to partake with Christ. You know, yes, that's what I think.
We are talking about the Sabbath. We've said that if we only knew God, that's when we'll respect the Sabbath. But now let's go to the Sabbath. What is the Sabbath? As let's not beat around the bush. HT, what is the Sabbath?
What is the Sabbath? You began the conversation by saying that it's law number 4. For maybe a viewer who may not know law number 4, laws of Uganda, no. Law number 4.
And not laws of Kenya.
The law of God. Yeah, the law of God.
The commandments,
the
in Exodus 20.
Yes. So when God created the world, he created it in 6 days. Then he rested on the 7th. And he blessed and sanctified and set apart the 7th day. And he gave it as a command to Adam and his descendants that every week we might do everything else for 6 days, but on the 7th day God demands our undivided attention. We put aside secular labor, we put aside...
Probably could be a bit audible.
Sorry, I'm saying we have...
An enlightenment.
I will not answer that. So God works for 6 days and rested, and he created a pattern that he wants us to follow. So as our example, even Jesus, when he was on earth, as far as the Bible is concerned, from the book of Luke, he kept the Sabbath. So in obedience to God, we also keep it. So the Sabbath is a special day among the 7 days of the week that God wants us to give our undivided attention. Yes, and not work and not pursue our own interests.
Some of the results that is equally interesting is that if we think that we are the only ones who should make it our custom, Jesus Christ actually made it his custom, like it's captured in Luke chapter 4, verse 16.
Yes, Luke
Jesus
4:16.
Christ made it his custom that he will go to the synagogue every Sabbath.
Yeah.
And I think if there's any reason or anyone to emulate, Jesus Christ can be the perfect example. So we should not come with excuses of ABC, isn't it, Jamie?
Yes.
With that said, it will boil down to, now we have said it is important and prudent to keep the Sabbath, and we keep the Sabbath if only we know God. But then now, which is this Sabbath day? I mean, there are many versions of this, but then we hope that we'll be able to clarify to it, shall we?
When is the Sabbath day? In the beginning, yeah, when God created, there's day 1, 2, 3, up to 7, yeah? And then if you read from the book of Matthew 28, verse 1, it talks about after the Sabbath on the first day of the week. So simply go to your calendar, okay? And the calendar simply begins by Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Simple arithmetic, simple math. And definitely that brings you to Saturday as the 7th day of the week.
There's some people who will say my calendar starts from Monday.
Yeah.
Jamie. How do you think, how can we approach this? What is that Sabbath day?
Well, I will support what she says. It is simple arithmetics. Sunday is the first day.
Kwa ule mwenye kalenda yake anaanza Monday.
Aitaanza Monday.
Hiyo ni calendar.
Just pick up on what they've said. Jesus died on Friday, and we all know that. In the whole world, we have Easter on Friday. He rested on the day after Friday. Then he resurrected, the way she said, on Sunday morning. So the day that comes between Friday and Sunday is Saturday. And we know that the calendar has never been changed. The first day of the week has always been Sunday. Any encyclopedia worth its salt will tell you that the first day of the week is Sunday. It's only recently, in the last maybe perhaps 10, 20 years, that calendars have started changing. But for 6,000 years, the calendar has always had Sunday as the first day of the week. So the 7th day of the week would be Saturday.
I like to re-echo what you said also in support. We'll use some biblical truths about it, because calendar is one way to look at it. But then equally in creation, God said there was evening, there was morning, that made it one day. And if we calculate it and do our perfect
Arithmetic.
Hiyo. Kizungu si lugha ya kwanza. Hiyo.
Yes.
It will all dawn to Saturday. But then that equally, Adventist, rather, Seventh-day Adventists have been once been referred to the day keepers. We just keep the day, but then we don't really keep what we are supposed to. Have you guys had such claims?
I think it's a false accusation, because we are not keeping a day. We are keeping a day, but we are not keeping it in the sense that we are reverencing the day. If anything, we are worshiping God on the day that He Himself has set aside. But perhaps to put it out there, Seventh-day Adventists are not the only group that keeps Saturday as a Sabbath. The Jews keep Saturday as a Sabbath. Seventh-day Baptists keep Saturday as a Sabbath. There are over, 300 churches in the world that keep Saturday as a Sabbath. So again, it's a bit of a leap of logic to say that it is something that's unique to us. It's not. Yeah.
Probably good advice to that.
Keeping Sabbath is part of the commandments, yeah? It's what God said. So it's simply keeping and doing that which God said. Christ is our leader, He's our example, and therefore what He says, we do it. Sometimes it seems like not incoherent with the rest of the world, but we're not keeping a day, we're simply doing that which God has asked us.
And maybe, Sammy, I should also say that if it's about that, then everyone is keeping a day. Even people keep Friday, Thursday.
It's not about keeping a day.
Yeah,
but then we can't afford to neglect the fact that there are some people who keep the day. Let's not just say that, yes, we are not about the day and all that stuff. There are some people who keep the day, but their traits are contrary to even what is expected of them. For example, if they're Adventist. Jamie?
Well, for those who keep the day.
But then their ways are over the fence.
Well, I don't think it's good to generalize. Everyone has their flaws. Everything in the world can be corrected. There's nothing new under the sun. So for that one person who's maybe very contrary. It is now our part to actually correct that person and bring them back the right way. Because if we keep on saying that, yes, yeah, ameenda lakini ana keep the day, that is not helping him at all, or that person, yeah. So I think it is also our part to also help that person.
Think about the Jews, for instance. They had burdens. They created so many rules on how to keep the Sabbath, and rules which Jesus was not comfortable with. If you remember, they could not cut him some slack on healing a person on Sabbath because they perceived that as work. You could not spit a certain distance. You could not lift something beyond a certain weight on Sabbath. Now, of course, Jesus condemned those excesses, but he did not violate. He did not have a problem with the Sabbath. In fact, he said in the book of Matthew chapter 5 that I have not come to destroy the law, but I've come to fulfill it. That's verse 17. So he made it clear that yes, some people keep it wrong, but that does not negate it altogether. I think I said this a few episodes back. You do not throw out the baby with the bathwater.
With the bathwater.
Yes.
Goodness. I think one of these days you come and meet somebody who will tell you, ile ulikuwa sema nini je maji na watoto? Yeah?
Definitely.
Thank you for clarifying about the Sabbath. But then there's some people, rather, us being youth, I'm sure having gone to campuses and gone to high schools, we have met people who have stood firm knowing that, no, it is a Sunday ndio ile siku ku worship, or Friday, or whichever day that they choose. What should be our message? Because sometimes we veer off and be like, instead of preaching the truth, you're like, where? My friend will say to Namkwero, where, and all that. How can we be the ones to preach this gospel in a way that is welcoming? Because sometimes I know some people will be like, no, you guys are okay, lakini kuna vile too. It's just the way you guys are like, Jamie.
Well, I believe that anything that you're going to approach someone, to talk to them about anything during the Christ or the Sabbath, we should always ask the Spirit for help.
Amen.
Anything that the Spirit has inspired will always work. Nothing is going to fail. So even if you actually come with they think you're vicious, but everyone has a conscience. People will think things after they are told. And if it is right, someone will always have the ability to actually think about it. And yeah, so I think anything you do, just ask the Holy Spirit. It will always work out right.
Probably the American advice.
I love an amazing a cappella song that says teaching the truth in love. And that song is very practical, by the way. It's oftentimes you come and say, you're worshiping on the wrong day. We go shouting and doing all these things, but it's simply telling them slowly by slowly. But someone would probably ask you a question. How come you guys normally go to church on Saturday? You explain it slowly by them, and then I'd advise such people to also go search the truth for yourself. It's important for you, because it's not that I'm just telling you to do it, but you go look for the truth, find it from the Bible. It's clear, and it's better than just clinging on to other things. If you are in doubt about anything, just search the scriptures.
So we should not just take what we should just not take what the pulpit brings.
Exactly.
As the pastor says. Exactly. As an example, you should not just take it as it is.
Yes. And in addition to praying for the guidance of the Holy Spirit and teaching in love, I think another important thing, that when you're sharing anything, it doesn't have to be the Sabbath. It could be whatever. Everyone has flaws, and one principle that Jesus gave is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So imagine if you're in that situation and someone was trying to correct you. The way you'd want them to correct you, use the same approach. Yeah.
And so I can cement the whole thing about the Sabbath to our viewer. First of all, let us not take everything that we're told. There is a nice example of a church that has been noted in the Bible that always went to search in the books, in the writings, even after they've been taught in church. They always went back to the Word to read and study about what they have been taught, so that the church was enough, but then for themselves to be able to grow spiritually. Let us not just take, just because you have said the Sabbath day is on Saturday, and just take it. No, go to the word. Do not go and ask anybody else to clarify. Okay, you can go and ask, but then do not take anything that is contrary,
Yes.
contrary to what is written in the word. Let the word be the guiding light. Do not use books from left, right, and center. The Bible is elaborate, and I think the Bible is one of the easiest books to read, as much as it has 66. And apparently, I don't know why people run to read an encyclopedia, rather books of law. I'm just saying.
Ni sawa.
Huge books of laws, but then kumaliza Bible ni ngumu. So let us all strive to be readers of the word. Let's read and let us get to understand further. But then, moving on with the discussion, we have said the correct Sabbath of worshiping the Lord. We have said why it is important. We have said if we knew God, we will know how to approach Him on the Sabbath. But then why should we? As in, tumesema juu tunakupenda tutakuja, lakini see, God is all knowing, as in His omniscient, omnipotent, and everything. Why do we have to worship on the Sabbath? Jamie?
Well, apart from it being set aside by God, I think it is also a commission to man to worship God. Yes, that is why we are made by God Himself. You see, our purpose is to worship, other than work. It is to worship Him. So He has made for you a specific day that you rest in Him, and I don't think it is like a burden. I think it's actually a blessing, because there is no other person in this world who will actually give you a day to rest and to worship. We see. Yes, so that's why I think God gave us that.
It should be a blessing to worship on the Sabbath.
Yes,
it should not weigh down on you like weights and or stuff. And I would like to add voice to that in the book of Ezekiel chapter 20 verse 12, it says that Sabbath was given to us as a sign, as a sign for us to remember Him. We have to acknowledge that sometimes our weeks are always crazy, as in shule, assignments, dates, when you're gonna dates and everything, but then God has said for that one day. And I think sometimes we are actually very unfair to God, because if we look at how much God has done for us, for example, let's just take Jesus. Jesus left his throne and came down to us, went through what we go through. Sometimes people think that Jesus was exempted because He was Jesus, but then sometimes the Bible actually accords that Jesus was just like man, was tempted to the same things that were tempted, and sometimes it's a bit more, because what happened back then, you can't be so sure about it, but it was the same temptation that we're going through. He went through all that and suffered the pain of the cross, the pain and the shame of the cross, just for us. Then we cannot afford to give Him 24 hours of our week. Do you think you're being fair to God?
Of course we are not. He's not asked for so much. It's just a day out of 7. The same way He asks for tithe, just 10% out of everything we have. He's not like the government, which takes 30%.
That is from salary na bado kuna tax,
Yes.
super na kuna everything.
Yes. He just takes a little bit. And I think the way you said, for everything that He has done, it's the least we can do. Yeah.
There's a nice song that I always go through sometimes when I feel not strong enough. It's a Swahili song that goes, Nilikupa wewe. I'm not sure of the number.
It's actually a hymn.
It's a hymn.
I gave my life for thee.
I gave my life to thee, but what hast thou
Given for me.
for me?
Yes.
If you look at how much God has given for us, I don't think we have a case to be like, hey, no, nilikuwa naenda sato tangu nizaliwe, and all that stuff. But then that, as we go to the break, as we go to the third segment, it becomes a question of, was Sabbath meant for us or us for the Sabbath? We'll get to that in after the break, but during the break we're going to have a short musical piece on Sabbath. Please stay tuned till the end.
Welcome on this day of rest. You are gathered days we have to do our best, but the seventh is his day of rest. You are welcome on this day. You are welcome on this day, and you're guaranteed to receive a blessing. Yes, you are guaranteed to be blessed. 6 days we have to do our best, but the seventh is his day of rest. You are welcome on this day, the Sabbath day. Sabbath day. The Sabbath is for him. Oh, oh, the Sabbath. We thank you, Lord, the Sabbath, for the Sabbath day. The Sabbath is for him. We thank you, Lord. You are welcome on. To receive a blessing. Yes, you are guaranteed to be blessed. 6 days we have to do our but the seventh is his day of rest. We're welcome on this day of rest. We're welcome on this day, the Sabbath day. The Sabbath day. The Sabbath. We're gonna let the Spirit take you. He's gonna rid you of temptation to sin. Your blessings will come pouring down. You gotta believe them, receive them, and then you will shout, thank you, Lord, for saving a sinner like me. Change me, Lord. Now change me, Lord, into what I should be. The place is here. The place is here. The time is now. My God will reach you. He's gonna reach you some way, somehow. How many times did he bring you through that storm? How many miracles? How many miracles must he perform? You are not here by coincidence. He invited you in. So rest in his presence. The Sabbath day. The Sabbath. I thank you, Lord, for the Sabbath day. Oh, the Sabbath. We thank you, Lord. The Sabbath. The Sabbath is for him. Oh, the Sabbath. It is for you. The Sabbath is for him. We worship you, Lord. We thank you for the Sabbath day. The Sabbath. It is for you. The Sabbath is for him.
Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the identity. Thank you for being with us through the first part. We do hope that the talent segment has been a blessing to you and also to us. We do hope that we are tallying together. You can also get to us on social media platforms. That is Facebook, Hope Channel Kenya, and Twitter at Hope_Kenya. If you have any questions, please share with us. We are willing, ready to share with you. Oh, something that I should have mentioned at the start of our show is that even if you Google about the Sabbath, it's clear there are over 90 verses or that are written on the Sabbath. Probably you can mention some.
Exodus 20 verse 8 to 11.
Okay, probably could be audible enough so that
Exodus 20 verse 8 to 11, Isaiah 58 verse 13, Luke chapter 4 verse 16, Ezekiel chapter 20 verse 20 and 20 verse 12.
Okay, sawa. There are very many verses. You can go search them. That they are going to imprint what you're saying. If we think that we are about, sure, probably the verses will help us. So you can go back to our ways. As we left the first part, we left on the note of, is Sabbath meant for us or us for the Sabbath? Jamie. Paradox kidogo, lakini what do you think? What do you think?
Just to start with, God made things because he wanted, not because we need them, you know. So I think the Sabbath was meant for us to worship in it, you see. Not us for the Sabbath. Yes.
Sabbath came first than us, so
Yes.
it's Sabbath for us.
Yes.
Any analogy moja interesting?
Yes, so the Sabbath was meant for man, not man for the Sabbath, yeah. And all these different things, you know, from creation, when Christ was creating everything, he had the environment, yeah, before he would bring the creatures. For instance, he created the firmament, then the stars come in. And he created vegetation, then he creates man after everything is done. So Christ knew that at some point, with all these cares of life, we'd really need the Sabbath. So it's not something that was instituted so that we can obey another one of his a million rules. No, it's something that Christ made for us.
I would like to add something to what you said, so I can bring HT, that Sabbath was meant for us, not us for the Sabbath. So we needed it. As in, it's like God foresaw. But on the Sabbath day, let us not make ourselves busy. Sabbath is there for us, not us for the Sabbath. HT.
I agree. All work without rest, and I'm changing it a bit. I know it's usually all work without play. All work without rest is... There's a time France tried to create a 10-day week. And it was disastrous.
So it flopped.
Yeah, it was a disaster.
Bad project.
Yeah, they had to come back to the 7-day week. So even the way we are wired to work 6 days and rest 1. So we need the Sabbath.
Yeah, the Sabbath.
Yeah, even if we think we don't, we will learn, hopefully not, when it's not too late, that we actually need to rest, because we cannot work continuously.
The beautiful thing about it is that the Bible cements it on Mark chapter 2, verse 27. Please,
Yes.
let's go read it. Mark chapter 2, verse 27. But then, as much as it's cemented to this, the Bible actually, also in the book of Isaiah chapter 58, verse 13, it says, if we turn not our backs from the Sabbath. Please, let's go read it. I'll start you on a paraphrase. I'm sure you know it.
Turn our feet, yes.
What happens if we turn our backs from the Sabbath?
Well,
because we have more than once found ourselves in that situation. Either unasema niliwork sana wiki, so now I want to rest on the Sabbath in my bed.
Well, first of all, when you disobey God, you will not have peace of mind. The Holy Spirit will convict your conscience. There'll be guilt that you'll be dealing with. So you're never going to have peace of mind if you're breaking any of God's commandments willfully. Secondly, the way you've said, if you decide that you want to work through and through and, not keep the Sabbath, of course the effects are even going to catch up with you as far as health is concerned, as far as well-being is concerned. Yeah, so the consequences are multiple.
I'd like to add a voice on something that you've said about health. There's a piece that I came across. It's about a state in somewhere in the Western the United States. It's about there's a state actually. There are very old people who are 100 plus who are still strong, and then research was done to them and how comes you guys are strong at 100 plus? Then apparently these guys are Adventists, and they're the guys who have stuck to every Sabbath, don't work. They just keep away out of all electronics and stuff, and I was like, wow. So actually, keeping the Sabbath has positive effects to your health.
Yes.
As in, you can't work all work without rest.
Rest.
Makes HT a dad boy. How do you voice feels to that regarding to turning our backs to from the Sabbath?
When we turn our backs from the Sabbath, then definitely things, it becomes, I don't really think I have so much more to add. Then he pretty much said it all. But when Christ says something, it's for our good, each and every time, each and every word that he tells us. When he says, don't do this, he knows, yeah? It's like a parent and sugar. When your parent tells you, usikule sukari, anajua, what's going to come after that. So when we don't do it, we are not happy. We don't become happy, we become miserable. You look like, a walking zombie. I mean, how do you work 7 days a week, seriously? And all these things, so you're not satisfied as a person. There's that missing gap. So,
now, what happens to me, okay, now this goes to, because we have friends who were born, okay, live alone, even born, they grew in Adventist faith. But then somewhere in the middle, they veered off. Personally, I'm a victim. Is it a victim? Or a victim of that. I have friends who we grew together but then veered off. I don't know what happens. What happens in our growth that brings that up? Jimmy?
Okay, well, for those who are actually born Adventists, I like to say that most of them take church as routine. It is not something that you own. I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. Church is for me and Christ. For most of us, we just wake up. Dad says, dress up, you're going to church. And you just wake up and do it,
You're doing it because Dad said.
Yeah, because Dad said. Or because you can't stay in the house, so where else can you go, But if you learn to make Christ your personal duty, it will not be a burden. You wake up knowing, church, I'm going. I don't know if it's only me who feels this on Sabbath, but it's the most exciting day to wake up in the morning. And I believe everyone should have that excitement and joy to
that
actually...
thrill.
Yeah.
Kuna kitu na kuanga
Kuna
tu.
kitu, Like the morning is brighter. It's, it's just a beautiful morning, So if actually make Sabbath our own thing, own it, it will never be hard. You will never veer off what is right. Yes.
Oh. You said something that I don't know if you guys have ever found yourself in the situation of, you said something about Kozileza. Wow.
Cloud9.
Making Sabbath a routine. How dangerous is it? As in, okay, I don't want to make it a routine. How can I make it the Sabbath every Sabbath? How can I make it that? Because sometimes we find ourselves in the risk of making it routine. Because yes, I want to make it good, but then, well, it happens. How can I make every Sabbath the Sabbath? Dama.
New experience, change your routine, yeah? So if your routine is go get to church at 11, listen to the sermon, and that's done. Find something that is of Christ that will give God glory, key thing, give God glory on the Sabbath. For instance, in the afternoons, there are Bible studies that very interesting. Find a place that you can
Which most of us
go.
you'd say, well, church kifika jioni ni hours apparently. The people who keep the Sabbath until 12. I don't know why, but then...
What I normally say in such situations, if you think that Bible study is really boring, be the one to change it. I mean, come up with interesting ways of doing it. You can find, these are times when you can, for instance, if you have a gift in music, join a choir, visit the sick in hospital. There are so many things. So it's us who need to do our homework properly to make this a more exciting and more pleasurable day than what we think it is. Yeah.
HT.
I guess the commandment says 6 days you shall labor, and the 7th day you will rest. Part of keeping the Sabbath is laboring during 6 days. If you're living a sedentary lifestyle for 6 days, you will not anticipate or look forward to the Sabbath. But I guess it's also important for us. I guess the other mistake that maybe I have made, and which perhaps other people make, is we are not worshiping God on the 6 days. On the 6 days we are... There's a joke.
You're wild and everything.
There's a joke I had that what's the point of saying our Father on Sabbath and then living like an orphan for the rest of the week? It beats purpose, and perhaps that's why perhaps that's why we do not look forward to the Sabbath, and we do not appreciate it, because we are not really Christians during
In our
6 days.
day-to-day life.
Yeah, we are hoping to be Christians on Sabbath, and you see that cannot happen. If you've eaten a pineapple for 2 hours, if you eat anything else, you'll not enjoy it. Yes.
Oh. I would also like to add breath to what you say, that we should make God in us be a day-to-day experience.
Yes.
So that you're not very holy on Sabbath. Then mtu ikikupata Tuesday kuzile boss, ni wewe nilikuwa na sata maniaje? You know, we should make Christ our day-to-day living, so that our Saturdays are every day. As much as we are doing different things in life, we should always seek to emulate Him and glorify Him in everything that we do, so that in all our doings and dealings, only God can be seen in it.
Yes.
I'm glad that you have been able to clarify to that. But then there's somebody who was asking me, directly actually told me to clarify on this. What are the goods? What good do we get from Sabbath apart from rest? Apart from rest, and he's told me to read the book of Isaiah, chapter 58, verse 13. It says, okay, that is actually in line to turning our backs from God. It says, if thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord honorable, and shall honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasures, nor seeking thine own ways, then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord, and I shall cause thee ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it. I don't know kana zongeza kitu hapo. It's everything that people have said, isn't it?
Yes.
But then just for viewers, is that just as the prophets from the old days, is that we would not say usipoenda church saa 2 or usipoenda church utakuwa mgonjwa na ABC. Just a quick example. One of the prophets in the Bible was fed from the birds of the raven birds, but then he didn't summon them to bring food. He didn't do anything, but then God provided. We might not clearly tell you that if you don't do ABC, you will suffer from ABC. But then one thing that is written is that, and I personally want to claim God's promises, because if you think about the heritage of Jacob, I don't know if somebody will be. It's just me. It's just me. But then let's claim onto the promises. Let's stick to His word, because His words are true.
It's true.
If only we realized just as you said, if only we realized who we are serving, and if only we took Him as seriously as He sacrificed His life for us, we'll revere Him, and we'll do everything, just as Paul says in his word, we'll be slaves to His workmanship. But then that brings me to another question. We have said some of us, personally, I fall a victim that certain inakuanga boring. You said we should do something interesting, si ndio? But then kuna zile churches zenye it's very hard. Okay, it's not like it's very hard, because if you put an effort, something will come out of it. But then what should we do? What should we do so that to make Sabbath to feel the oomph that comes with the Sabbath? HT.
Okay, just before I answer that, I just wanted to reiterate what you said, that God promises blessings as a result of obedience. When you obey God, the blessings come. In Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 2, the Bible says, all these blessings shall come to you and overtake you if you shall hearken to the voice of the Lord your God. So when we obey God, there are blessings that come from it. But now, how do we make Sabbath interesting? And what can you do if, maybe you're in a church where it's difficult to upset status quo? I guess I'd go back to what she said earlier. You can create other alternative programs. You do in as much as we're told to keep the Sabbath, we are not necessarily told stick in church from morning to evening. You can go out in nature. You can visit, the way she said, sick people in hospital. There are so many other things that we can do. And even within church, we do not have to do the same thing every week. Yes.
Jamie?
Well, also to add to what they have said, I also noticed something very interesting. when you learn to participate in church work,
Mhm.
church will never be boring.
Wow.
You'll always have to look forward to something. Let's say you're told today you'll do the lesson in class. That is always something that's going to push you to always want to come to church. You know, it is very nice when you have to share God's word with people. And that's one thing that always look forward to church too. Yes.
Mhm.
Other than actually having to change the routine. Because sometimes it's not the routine that's wrong. It is the post perception about
Exactly.
church.
Yes.
Mhm.
I don't think that actually for you to have a church program takes a lot of work to have to put that thing together. You know,
Mhm.
people take weeks and weeks.
Mhm.
And actually, I don't think it's the church that has the problem most of the time. It's the people. They have to change their perspective about what church is to them. If you change your mentality, everything else falls into place.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
You have something to add to that?
I could just summarize by saying change your specs.
Change your specs.
Yeah.
Don't change your eyes.
They're
That
not
is just me. That is just me.
Yes,
When it's something you said that I think our viewers will take it home. I don't know what she said. It's concrete as it comes, as always she says it, or rather puts it in practice. She has done. How's here?
Ndivyo.
Ndivyo hivyo. Anyway, I'm glad that you said that we should make ourselves, we should engage in church stuff, and something that can help us as youth, like vary from temptations that come our way on the Sabbath, is being busy for the Lord. And there's a nice chorus. I've been told more than once in Siwai Yimba.
Now please don't even.
Nisa, I will not sing.
But you can say the words.
I can say the words.
Yes.
For me, I sometimes sit and I think about it. The words are, I'm gonna keep on walking till it comes, till it comes. There's nothing in this world worth turning around to see. My eyes are on the prize, just waiting.
By and by.
By and by. Who's am I gonna keep on walking?
You
till
just
it
had
comes? I had to. Man, that song is nice. That song is nice. If you know the song, please you can hum along with me. Am I gonna keep on walking till he comes? Till he comes. There's nothing in this world. Okay, you just want to join me in this.
No. It's your
We're
time.
moment, right?
It's your time.
It's not really. It's
No,
our
please
moment.
enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself.
I can enjoy embarrassing myself with my horrible voice. Is that what I'm trying to
No,
say?
your voice is not horrible.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
The person who told you that lied.
Thank you. Eston Mesquio. Now Kina Gloria. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But then, so some of us, the youths, have once in a while said that we are not being put into the programs. That's why you don't feel engaged. That's why you disengage to go out on natures while you're supposed to be in church. I'm not saying nature is not bad. I'm not saying nature is bad. But then, how can we put ourselves in the right place to serve Christ? Because we cannot be out here saying tunataka, but then always left. Probably can add voice to that.
A house is only as beautiful as a plan. At first, yeah. You see, if I want to tell you I'm going to build a really big mansion, and I have this picture. In my head, I have the picture of how it's going to look, all shiny glass and everything. But to someone who doesn't know yet what I want, the only thing that can make it beautiful is seeing the actual plan. Some of us don't really have you have a good program, yes, but you don't have a way to put it out, rightly. So how do you put it right? Something I've just come to learn recently, take time to think about it really deeply, to pray about what exactly you'd want to do. When Christ puts a vision in your heart, it has to take a bit of time to grow. Study not just the word, look for material, look for resources, look for all these things. And then by the time you're putting it out there, it's something that people will actually want to buy and say, and yeah, these young people, there's something that they can do about it. So take time to pray about it, study, and do your homework. Yeah.
HT?
I was just looking for something that we learned recently, that there is a difference between what could be and what is. And just to add to what she said, regardless of how good our ideas are, if we do not actually make an effort to implement them, they just remain as ideas. And I think sometimes we are a bit too scared of church organization and bureaucracy and structure, that we imagine that if we were to float an idea, it would not be taken seriously. You would actually be surprised that these ideas are what a lot of our leaders are looking for. And if we reached out politely, kindly, it does not also have to be confrontational, and said, you know, this is what we usually do on Sabbath, but we were thinking, what if we did it differently? And I know that some people have tried it and it has worked. So if other people have done it, then there is no reason for someone to believe that we feel sidelined, we feel that we are not being involved in church activities. You can, if you make the effort to speak to people who can make a difference, then you are not going to be, you're not going to be unable to implement any good idea that you might have.
I like to arc what you've said and say church service, rather the Sabbath, has become, in a way, instead of bringing us closer to God, some of us have, just as I said, we should change aspects, have looked at it in a very different way. Probably Sharon, you had a piece on what the Sabbath has become in our relationship with Christ. Paul can share with us.
It's very sad. It's very sad, by the way, that nowadays church and Sabbath, this whole thing, church has become more of a room for courtship rather than a house of worship. It has become a place where we seek for entertainment through music than being a hospital for the sin sick. It's a place where we want to look for, concerts on a cappella and listen to it 24/7, but not really living like we are going to heaven. That's how, Sabbath has become, and it's a sad reality, but the encouragement is that there's hope. That no matter how, other days it has been going bad, I like something that HT normally says, it doesn't matter how many times you do it wrong, as long as you eventually do it right. So you can actually...
Did she just quote me?
She quote your profile picture.
Do you take for words? Yes.
I think I can retire now.
For what? Yeah, so that's pretty much how Sabbath has become. A day for chapati, And it shouldn't be like that. It should be more of feeding on the bread of heaven than this chapati that we love so much. And and it is,
Ordinarily, we went for spoken word contest or other presentation. I'd be like, snap.
Well, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for also telling us, rather sharing the views that you are a poet. Thumbs up, may Lord use your skill.
Amen.
So as we can be able to bring further, you can be able to yield much that is expected from us. But I like to mention something that you have said. We have said that we should not turn our ways to do our desires, and it's written in the Bible, in the book of Isaiah. But then it also boils down, and I believe that kuna mama nyumbani wanawatch wanasema sasa kuna kitu hujasema. Wacha nimwage mtama. Wacha nimwage mtama. Vijana tuko na challenge kubwa, tutafika church. Tumeingia church kama kawaida, lakini tukifika tu church just before someone I'm after. I'm even during the sermon. Niajumekaa wapi? Kuna nafasi. Msongeni kama. Or Facebook. Ama kuna story kama baki kwa WhatsApp. And all that. Where does this put our religion? What is our challenge? How can we face this as vijana? Because I believe we have all done that. We are all victims.
Well,
okay, so I'm not going to say you because
no, I didn't say anything.
Well, your face can speak,
but we can't speak for everyone. Yes.
I probably can. Jamie.
Okay, let me tell you something small that I learned when I was a kid. When my mother told me don't use your phone in church, I wouldn't use it until I started seeing my friends, and it just became normal. Like, oh, okay, so. Let me show you, this instant. It became, the first time I did it felt wrong. But as you progress doing it, it looks okay, because, and then because will come around and tell you, put your phone there, be like, when they go there, I don't be any.
Kuna Bible kwa simu pia.
Bible, romance, and so on.
Kuna lesson kwa simu.
I know. But, some of these things your parents tell you when you're young, but as you mature up, you tend to sideline these things like they're not important. And that is also something that actually waters down to how we act around people. It's the same thing with carrying your hard copy Bible. Come on, mtoto, that was your, Mommy, where's my Bible, But right now, like, where's the Bible? Konasimo.
Konasimo.
In Konasimo, yeah, you know.
I do soft copy today, you know.
Yeah, soft copy. And that is something that, I don't know if it's negligence or ignorance, it's either of the two, that we all have to learn to overcome, you know. Yes, I don't think it's something that is hatuwezi change. It is something that is learned, and a bad habit can be unlearned. Yes.
Two things. You reminded me of when I was a kid. I had a blue Bible. Ndogo hivi. I used to carry it every Sabbath until I don't know what happened, and I got a bigger one. I'm not saying that nilipoteza because I had around 3 to 4. Nilikuwa napoteza na shuffle.
Sawa.
Two things.
Sawa.
No, it's because I was a victim of kupoteza Bible.
It's
So
okay.
shika hizi Biblia. Leo natumia hii. Ukipoteza poteza kwa nyumba. My mom thanks. Point number 2, there's a speaker called Randy. Every time that he gets to the pulpit, he says, he always says, what is this? And what is this? Oh, this is a phone. This is a Bible. Blah, blah, blah. We have been airing some of his sharings on Hope Channel Kenya. There's something that, as in, we should clearly draw the line. Dama, add voice.
To
The whole point of...
you know, the Bible, and but it's very true. You can, if we go back to our old ways, you know, there's a nice poem that I read. You know, the days when things were in order. You know, carrying that hard Bible, you don't really have to. If it's a big temptation like that, you don't have to. But then I think it all boils down to knowing God. Again, I'll highlight in red, in bold, everything. If we really knew this God, we'd know that God is in his holy temple. Let everyone be silent. So no, whatever stories they end, whatever texting, it can wait. You know, this is just time for me and God. You know, again, going back to the analogy of dating and stuff. When you're out now on your date with, the person you're in a relationship with, it's not at that time, you won't take your phone to start texting at, hey, by the way, that story, you know, you'll want to give all your attention to that person. Why can't we do the same for God, who's loved us this much, you know, and given us his all? Why can't we just give him that undivided attention for one day? So, very good.
You can afford to give a man who you're with in a date all your attention and put your phone in your porch, uko mbali. Lakini if you God, dakika moja tu. Wacha tu nitumie message. HT.
I think it's the way Jemima said. It's just a bad habit. And it's not just something unique to the youth. I've seen even grown-ups sometimes always on their phone. But the way she said, it's a question of what's more important to you at that particular time. Can this conversation wait? Sometimes I feel there's nothing wrong in having the phone, because sometimes you might want to communicate. Maybe you're looking for someone within the compound and you can't find them. But deliberately being on Facebook or on Instagram or Snapchat or
What is trending?
Or WhatsApp and worship is going on. It's irreverent, it is disrespectful, it is disobedient. And if we were to look at ourselves from the way God looks at us, we would see just how disrespectful it is that here we are trying to worship God, but someone else is, you know, busy with something else. You have 6 days in a week, for heaven's sake, when you can do everything else. Why is it so difficult to dedicate that one day to God? Yes.
Today, feeling musical, there's a song. Forgive me.
Yes, sawa msanii. When are you releasing your album?
Nice one. There's a very nice song that I think we all know it, but then since you'll not join me in embarrassing myself, it's because give me that old time religion, give me that old time religion, give me that old time religion, and it's good enough for me. We'll sing about it, but then why don't we act about it? Let's put our phones away. I've always wished to emulate a lady. I will not say her. Ikifika na satos boy, simu iko off. Iko off. And the next time utaipata ni jioni. As in basically, boss, this is my time and my God, this is my me time. If we ever have a me time, then we should like put a whole Sabbath of a me time, because that is the best time to juice and put ourselves out there for God. That is the best time to relate, and I don't know how much we can say about the Sabbath so that our viewer back at home can understand how much we need to dedicate that time for him. And if we think we are doing God a favor by going to church, we're actually doing ourselves a favor. Because it's Sabbath was meant for us. We're not doing a favor to God. We're not doing a favor. We are actually honoring Him by keeping His commandment. And just as His word says, His commands are
Not okay. Which particular text are you looking for? Because there's one that says His commandments are not a burden, but His commandments are also a delight. Yes.
Let's just say kuna verses mingi zenye
Yes.
Let's
The whole of Psalm 119.
Amen. Amen. Just as much as I love that song, Give That Old Time Religion, we should also seek to make our interaction on the Sabbath day with Christ more effectuous to our growth in faith. We'd like to go to our inspiration segment where we're going to look at how we can keep and enjoy the Sabbath. Please stay tuned.
The Sabbath is God's gift to humankind. It was given at Eden for the benefit of our first parents, Adam and Eve. And when sin came into the world, that was one of the structures, one of the foundations that was eroded by sin. When Jesus came, Jesus gave us a new perspective on Sabbath keeping. Sabbath keeping for Jesus was based on relationships. Whenever Jesus came into contact with people, Jesus transformed their lives. There was a woman who was bent over for 18 years and suffering from paralysis, as it were. And no one would help her. And Jesus chose to minister to her needs by healing her on the Sabbath. Jesus believed that doing good was more important than going through mere rituals. For many, the Sabbath was a burden, it was a ritual. For Jesus, it was ministry. And so Jesus did his utmost of uplifting the Sabbath. Since the Sabbath was for obedience, Jesus took it to a higher level by doing good and by assisting people to grow and to be better Christians. And Jesus is our example. Young people today, in order to truly enjoy the Sabbath, we could emulate Jesus Christ's examples by helping people, by visiting the sick, by providing needs, and by doing things that would be not only uplifting but salvific. A lot of times, individuals became attracted to Jesus and became one of his disciples as a result of Jesus liberating them from the burden of the law, and he freed them by allowing them to understand that the Sabbath was made for human beings and not human beings for the Sabbath. I love Sabbath keeping because I believe in keeping the Sabbath. I'm honoring Jesus and I'm following his example. After all, he's Lord of the Sabbath. And when I worship him on his day, it gives me joy, it gives me happiness, it gives me peace. And if I can have a good relation with my neighbor who's not a believer as I am, and I do good things for them on the Sabbath, if I visit, I alleviate pain and hurt and unhappiness, I am practicing proper Sabbath keeping. The Sabbath is from sunset to sunset. Friday sunset to Sabbath sunset. And in that 24-hour period, there is so much that can be accomplished, so much that can be done by doing good. Now, Jesus, as I said before, he's our example. And you can visit the sick in nursing homes. We can take singing bands and bring cheer and relief to people. Young people, the Sabbath hours are to be guarded. And when we say guarded, it means that we do not do normal activity, normal labor, but it can become enjoyable by doing good. I mentioned visiting the sick, going out into parks and singing, testifying, witnessing. These are activities that would make the Sabbath a joy and not a burden. When God created the 10 Commandments, when he gave them to Moses, the fourth commandment is the only one that says remember. Because God, when God gave it, he knew in 2017 people will forget. And it's the only commandment that says remember. So many people have decided to use other days. There are two foundations that God gave us in Eden: marriage and the Sabbath. And these are the two institutions that have been prostituted by the devil. And the world has followed tradition rather than truth. Truth means honoring God on his day. And his day is the seventh day. The seventh day is the Sabbath. The Sabbath was made for doing the right thing, for being obedient to God. And it is my desire, my wish, to emulate Christ. The Bible says, as his custom was, he went into the synagogue. The synagogue today is the church, to worship. And to worship God on the Sabbath, I can help my neighbor who worships on another day to understand that I am following the example of Jesus that kept the Sabbath day holy.
Thank you for being with us for the past around an hour. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for telling us through the discussion. You can also still send your questions, comments about the show on Facebook. That is Hope Channel Kenya, and on Twitter, that is Hope_Kenya. You can also find me on Facebook. That's Samuel Mange, and on Twitter at Hope_Kenya. Sorry. My Twitter handle is at Sammy Mange. Thank you for coming for the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for the sentiments.
Thank you for the
May we be the light
opportunity.
out there. May we be the salt, so I can be able to make an effect to the world. Till next time, stay tuned and be blessed.